Hello everyone. Today we are going to understand about single responsibility principle in design patterns. Single responsibility principle states that a class should have only one responsibility in it. That means a class should have only one reason to change. It should have only one reason to change. What if a class have more than one responsibility? It becomes more complex. You have to put all the responsibility in a single class, which in which if you want to alter something, it will be more complex. It is harder to maintain. A single class putting many responsibilities will be harder to maintain and also more difficult to understand whatever the requirements you have implemented in a single class, and it has less flexible to changes. That means if you want to change anything, you may have to alter other responsibilities which are present in the same class. So that is why we have to avoid, and why it is important to have single responsibility in a single class. If we have single responsibility in a single class, we can easily maintain. That means you can also modify the class with a single responsibility easily and update it according to your requirements. Testability, if you have a single class, you will be having focused. You will have focus to one requirement testing, and it will be simpler for you, which is very easy and effective testing takes place. Also, readability means it becomes more clear and straightforward code. Whatever you want to write, whatever you write or whatever you update or whatever you see, if it is a written class, it will be more clear and straightforward class with a single responsibility that is focused on. Now we have reusability. You can write it once and use it multiple times in different contexts. For example, if you consider a bank application with a transaction from you to self, you to other, and you to other bank. This could be with UPI ID, whatever it could be. Now here, when you want to transfer, the common responsibility is to debit from your account to the other account, right? Debit from yours and credit into the other's account. Here debiting is the same thing which is happening in the both cases. At that time, you can write one responsibility class that is debiting amount from your account and then crediting to the respective other account. So this is where reusability comes in. Now, how do we achieve SRP? SRP is achieved by refactoring. Refactoring, we do it for clarity and abstraction. Let us see an example how this SRP works. For example, let's say you have requirements called login, register, and log error. Whatever the error may happen that may occur in this both can be redirected to this log error page or whatever the log error that should be displayed. Now, if we consider the code that is violating SRP, this class called user has three responsibilities: login, register, as well as log error. These methods with the body which is written some of the logical code inside it are the methods which are three. That means three requirements of the client are being put into one class which is having multiple responsibilities, which is violating SRP. Now, once we refactor it, we can see it like this. Refactoring, we do it for clarity and abstraction. Here I have used interfaces. You can use a combination of interfaces and abstracts based on their requirements of the client. Now, for simplicity, I have used interfaces in here. I have a login interface. I stands for interface. If it is abstract class, it will be represented with A before the class name. A login if it is abstract class. Since it is interface, we have used the naming I login. In this, it has a method called login. Whenever the class that inherits this interface must implement the method inside it, for which here we have ilogin, which is implementing The class we have login, which is implementing iLogin. That means it must implement this method inside it, which is happening in here. So this login method will be implemented. That means it has only single responsibility in this class. Similarly, for iRegister, which is an interface, has a method called register. Now this iRegister is being extended. Register class is being extended by iRegister, which must implement register. So this is how the body implementation takes place. This is the implementation which is following the SRP principle. So if we see the UML of this SRP class UML, the violation looks like this. A single class called user has multiple responsibilities called login, register, and log error. If you refactor it, this is how the UML looks for the SRP for the same example which we have discussed before. Now here we have an interface called login, which has login method. Now the other class called login is getting extended by interface. This symbol means extension. This class is extending this interface, which has a login method that must be implemented in the subclass. So similarly, we have iRegister interface that is extended by register class, which has implemented its registered method, and similarly for the log error. So this is about single responsibility principle. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about OCP, which is open close principle. Let's see this SRP violation with the code in C#. Here I have a class called user which has three methods as per the requirements: login, register, log error, which are performing their logic inside the bodies of each method. Now in the main code, when I create a method like this, when I create the object of type user, this is the object creation, and this is a variable that is referring the object, and this is the type of this object. Once again, this is the object which is actually created. This is a user type of variable that has the reference to this object. Now when I create the object like this and put and call the methods inside this, I can execute it. And since this works perfect, here we don't have any problem in the execution, but this has multiple responsibilities. If the logic between these two are linked, then if you want to change this method, you may need to alter this method too. That is where we do not want that dissonance, for which we create different classes as taught before. So when we create different classes for different responsibilities, it looks like this. We have an interface called iLogin, which has a method login. This interface is being implemented by the class called login. When it is being implemented, all the methods inside must be implemented. That is where in the main class, the concrete class has the actual implementation of the respective method. Similarly, for iRegister, we have a method called register. The class that is extending, that is implementing interface has this register method that is implemented in it. Similarly, for log error, now when I have a responsibility that need to be modified or changed, this can only affect the respective class, not the other classes. That means we have only one reason to change. So in the main method, I do created all the objects with relevant names and called the method which are there present in the each class. Now when I click on execute the program, it is the same. So this is the example of SRP with violation and after refactoring.